Hey guys, welcome to the first of hopefully many episodes of Lukey Builds, where I recreate real-life aircraft in Kerbal Space Program. Today we'll be building the B-1 Lancer, a supersonic swing-wing bomber built for the American Air Force. It was first implemented in 1974, and it's been in service ever since. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. Opening my save file and going to the spaceplane hangar. Now selecting a capsule. Well, the Ferram's hypersonic capsule, that does a pretty good job. Now, obviously this is not in real time, otherwise I'll be here for 10-20 minutes just building, and this wouldn't be a hell of a lot of fun to watch. Anyway, since it's being a bomber, it's very important it has a bomb bay, but we don't really need that at the moment, but it's good to have that there for now. Now I'm using a mod called the variable, I think it's called the variable wings. Pretty much allows you to build your custom wings. I'll find out what it actually is and put the link in the description. Anyway, it allows you to just build your own custom wings of any shape and size, and yeah, it allows you to do some pretty intricate wing shapes. Anyway, the B-1 was built along a lifting body design, so the fuselage created lift, so it had a really big, wide fuselage with the wings attached to that. Doing that now. It has it had four General Dynamic turbofan engines, which produced quite a bit of thrust. 64 kilonewtons each. Which, funny enough, the jet engines I'll be using in Kerbal Space Program produce more thrust than that. So this should go faster. But being Kerbal Space Program, it has rather limited aerodynamic accuracy. Anyway, I'm building the swing wing now. Obviously, building a swing wing aircraft in Kerbal Space Program would be next to impossible because the rotatrons on the damn robotics packs are not exactly robust, and you can't really put struts on them. So I'm just gonna put them at a swept back angle. But besides, it looks pretty cool anyway. Now, on the tail, this is gonna be a little bit of a gap, so I'll just fill that in. What's that piece there? Anyway, due to the largeness of the wings, sometimes they just clip and you can't see them. But it doesn't matter, they're there and they do their job. While we're working on the tail, it's interesting to note that the B-1A, I believe, had a radar in the tail. Which is kind of interesting, because why would you need a radar pointing backwards? I would think to detect incoming surface-to-air missiles or any sort of anti-air missiles, but I'm sure there's other infrared detection systems that do the job adequately, as opposed to putting a big, massive, heavy radar on the nose. Anyway, I'm still working on the tail. The problem was the variable wing mod. You can only attach you can't attach wings to surfaces of, these variable geometry wings. You can only attach them to the edges, as you can see here. But you learn to work with it. Anyway, as you can see, this tail's taking shape. It's got a nice sort of a T-shaped tail. And yep, attaching the control surfaces. One of the problems is sometimes it just won't attach to the surfaces, as you can see here, and it can get quite tricky, but it's just a matter of trial and error until you get it right. That's one of the issues with the mod, but it's not too biggie. Then of course they had this rudder that just would not attach to the surface. So anyway, a little while later, got the control surfaces all sorted out, and now the B-1 has these tiny little canards like things at the front. I'm not sure they're actual canards, I don't think they actually move, but they're there on the real thing, so my replica must have one as well. Tiny little stubby things. Yep, more or less done. I'm going to call mine the B-1B Lancer, because, well, they only built 4 of the B-1As, so you might as well. Yeah. Cool, save it. Let's see how this beauty flies. Well, it hasn't exploded yet, so that's always a good start. Hey, look, it's Jebediah. He's behind the controls. Well, we're in safe hands. Looking around, yeah, plane's pretty good, good in shape. Controls are working. Alright, let's throttle up and let's go. Doesn't accelerate very quickly, but then of course this thing is kind of big and heavy, which is fair enough. Pitching back, yeah. Doesn't quite want to take off just yet. Oh, there we go, where everyone seems to take off around 70, 80. I'll just probably land around 100 just to be safe. Yeah, the pitch is not bad. Not the quickest at turning though, and the same goes with the roll. But then of course this is pretty damn big. Now, the B-1 can fly at 0.92 Mach at low altitude, i.e. between 61 and 150 meters altitude, according to Wikipedia. Interesting fact is, the US Air Force would actually buzz enemy soldiers, enemy units, was it? Because the shockwave of a plane this big going this slow has quite a considerable effect on infantry. You know, if you can just take out your enemy by flying over them, you can save a lot of money on ammunition. Now, of course, we're pretty much near our top speed now of 182 meters per second, which is nowhere near the 0.92 Mach. Now, here I am opening the bomb bays. Of course, this thing has, being a bomber, just have bomb bays. And the real B-1 had 3 internal bomb bays, with a total of 34 tons of ordnances, as well as 6 external hardpoints, which can carry up to 23 tons of ordnances. Of course, for those who play War Thunder, this is a ridiculous amount of payload. You can, when people are complaining about years taking out bases in like 4 runs, this would just instantly annihilate them. Anyway, I'm climbing now. I want to test out the second factor of its performance. It said at altitude of around 15 kilometers, it can get to a speed of Mach 1.25. Well, let's see if this is true for my Kerbal Space Program variant. Now that we're climbing, another thing to note is, I said earlier that each of the engines put out 64.9 kilonewtons of thrust. Well, that's actually dry thrust. Thrust on each of these engines on afterburner is 136.9 kilonewtons, according to Wikipedia. Now, this is much closer to the actual engine outputs of the engines I have installed on the Kerbal Space Program version. Now, for those of you who don't know what an afterburner is, it's pretty much when they just throw fuel on the exhaust to get even more thrust out. Now, of course, you got a few problems with this. One, because you're literally just pumping fuel onto a big fire. You go through your fuel very, very quickly. Because for example, an F-15 on full afterburner would go through about its fuel in about 10 minutes, somewhere around there. And the other problem is overheating. It produces a hell of a lot of heat, and you tend to only be able to use them like in short controlled bursts, which isn't really much of a problem, but you know, if you have to put the plane on full afterburner at all times to match the Kerbal Space Program variant, then yeah, you got some reliability issues here. But anyway, despite this, the real-life version is still outperforming the Kerbal Space Program version. As you can see, we just broke the sound barrier, and we're struggling to climb any higher. Yeah, it seems to be leveling out. You know, I'm fighting to keep the nose up, as you can see, and there we go. We're back into another climb. Well, a little later on, we're finally approaching 15 kilometers of altitude, and you can see our Mach number on the Ferram flight systems thing is getting pretty damn close to 1. There we go, we've exceeded it. And so at least on that front, the Kerbal Space Program version is accurate. It will reach Mach 1.25 at an altitude of 15 kilometers. Cool. And look, Jebediah, he's delighted at this, obviously. Alright, let's bring this thing around for a landing. Okay, now I'm coming around, lining up with the runway, putting the gear down. I'm using the modular wheel packs as landing gear. The main difference is they tend to be much softer, the suspension, because as you know, on the default ones, the suspension is next to non-existent. So much rather my airplanes can like cushion their fall. which tend to result in less spontaneous structural failure upon landing. And also means I can land much harder, as I can demonstrate right about now. There we go, it's a pretty damn hard landing, and yet we're still in one piece. Now, another thing is the brakes aren't as good as the default ones, because, I mean, it's kind of a good thing. You don't want your planes tumbling head over tail every time you hit the brake, which often happens a few times too many. But anyway, we're down, we've stopped. It took a bit while longer to stop, but we're down nonetheless. And with that, it's a good time to conclude. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you next time.